Today we are joined on the show by Coach Kelsey Montagna, head of Cabrillo Volleyball. Coach, you are the head coach for beach volleyball as well as indoor volleyball, and this is your first year full-time as a head coach. The season before that, you were filling the role as an interim coach. Is that correct?
Yeah, as adjunct. Yeah.
So this is your first year full-time on staff, Cabrillo Volleyball alumni. What has been the biggest impact on the beach volleyball season right off the bat with the 3C2A suspending competition practice and everything in the spring?
I think just the girls in general having, kind of a heavy heart. I think we knew it was coming. But, overall it's for the safety of them and for the safety of us with COVID-19 kind of taking over right now. But that Friday, I kind of had already known going into our meeting, our athletic department meeting, and I still had them practice. I still had them doing as many things as they could to kind of get their mind off of it. And I think that's the biggest issue right now with what we're dealing with is people being at home and not used to being outside and being around friends. So that's what we've kind of really not afraid of, but we knew it was coming. So we prepared pretty well, I would say 2 weeks prior to knowing that it was suspended. So I just have heavy hearts for the sophomores that were at that moment, the sophomores that were there who are either moving on or transferring to a 4-year. But to know that they have their year back really, I think, helped us kind of swallow it.
Well, that actually leads me into another question, which is the sophomores were given an additional year of eligibility via the 3C2A and NCAA, if I'm not mistaken. How many sophomores do you think will take you up on that? And how many sophomores had already made plans to matriculate onto another school?
Yeah, I mean, Brianna Ayala, she's going to move on and go to Corbin, which I think is the best fit for her scholarship, and she's ready to go, and we need to let her fly. However, Jordan and Devin, they have another year. Jordan, unfortunately, does not have another indoor season, but she will have another beach. We've been working kind of together the last few weeks about deciding if she wanted to stay or not. Her heart is coming back and playing, but it's a whole year from now, and she's done with all of her, requirements to move forward. So I think it's just going to take some time, and once everything's lifted, we'll see what happens. Devin Derecho called me yesterday and wants to return for indoor and maybe beach. So, there's little blessings, and that's what we've been trying to teach them right now is with a world of uncertainty. We just have to really celebrate those small victories or kind of the life changes that are kind of hitting us right now.
Now, less than a decade ago, you yourself were playing volleyball at Cabrillo. Do you think that the recency with which you were in the student athlete experience gives you a unique opportunity to connect with them as a coach during this COVID-19 impacted season?
I think yes and no. I think that we're kind of in the same state of being used to so many people. I'm not married. I don't have a family. And so, we're each other's support system a lot of the time. So it might be a little bit easier for me just to stay connected with them and have a little bit more time to really invest in what we want to do. Not saying that not every other coach is doing that, but I think for me, my priorities are still Cabrillo and Cabrillo volleyball. So it's a little bit easier, but I think all of us across the board, coaching wise, are just trying to make it as positive and as best as we can for our student athletes.
Now, what have you been doing to stay in touch with your players? Because you mentioned that they filled that family role for you in this time. Anybody who follows Cabrillo Volleyball or Cabrillo Beach Volleyball on Instagram, which you all should be doing, has gotten an awesome opportunity to see an inside look into a lot of the girls' day-to-day life, seeing what they eat, how they work out, how they train. How are some of, other than Zoom meetings, how are you staying connected to the girls, and what does that feel like or look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty entertaining to watch the day in the quarantine life. And, they've been bugging me for months, not bugging, but they always want to take over the Instagram. They always want to get on there. And for me, it's volleyball, how are we going to get better? And I thought this was a great opportunity to kind of get their minds off of what was kind of going on, as well as have some fun with it and just let them roll. We're reading a book right now, Relentless, which I think is great. We're just really tackling the mental aspect of the game right now, which I think is the perfect opportunity if we're not able to go in with each other to touch a ball. So Zoom meetings every Friday. They have workouts that they do, which actually leads into a full 6 month of training that was created by Michael Cutler, our athletic trainer, who I trust deeply with programming for our athletic students. So that's worked perfectly, as well as just kind of staying together. So we use our Canvas the entire time, just like a normal classroom. We have week-to-week discussions. We have a lot of outlining of how they view themselves. Right now, they're actually working on a gratitude letter towards themselves about why they're thankful, especially in a time of uncertainty. So I think just like I said earlier, celebrating those little victories and really trying to explore what they want and what they need to grow. We only have one more year with some of our sophomores, and I'm not really sure about the fall, but we're still planning for a fall season. So I want them in the best mental state if we can't get in there physically right now.
Well, that actually leads me into my next question. With sports like football or other high impact sports, the summer season becomes incredibly important from an injury prevention and health standpoint. Volleyball, indoor volleyball, is played on hardwood courts, even though most people wouldn't call it a contact sport like football or lacrosse or something. There's still a tremendous amount of impact specifically on the joints. How much does not having access to the players over the summer session potentially change your strategy as a coach and impact the sport's ability to run smoothly if we have a traditional fall sports season?
Yeah, I think finally, having a whole year under my belt of being full-time, I kind of understand what we wanted for this summer and what we wanted for this fall. So we've kind of had planned for that, whether we had them or not. So we have a full workout still that starts, end of May, so they can take it home in general, because we usually don't have them until July anyways for our summer class. But, I think just staying positive with it and, just making sure that they are able to feel like they're a part of a team. I think that's huge. The safety issue kind of comes into term. I know that the 3C2A is going to make their best judgment depending on when we start the fall. And if we don't have a summer season, that's a huge time for us to grow physically. So I think just keeping them on routine is huge. Routine and building blocks. So we can't expect them to come in here late August and know our whole entire system are in shape. And typically we want them in shape and ready to go just to learn our system. But I think it's going to be a little bit different, and not just for us, but clear across the state, let alone NCAA, you name it. I think it's going to be a little bit different this year. But it's those coaches that stay in contact. It's those coaches that really put forth their philosophy from the very standpoint or the very beginning of it all.
Let's talk a little bit about recruiting and how this has impacted your recruiting calendar. We've heard from some coaches that there is concern that the sophomores might not have the opportunity to matriculate because this is going to hold up scholarships all throughout the chain. You had a lot, this is a very freshman heavy team last year. You had planned on getting a lot of players back. Will this influence the number of people that you invite to come and play next year? A, and B, will it influence the type of player that you look for? Will you expect a more mature player? Will you be less willing to approach a college student or a high school student, or will it change you at all?
I'm very pleased with the freshmen we have coming in. I'm very excited. We have a couple big local girls and a couple girls out from the area. I don't think this affects our fall season as much as it would affect our spring season, indoor to beach, because our indoor players don't have another year of eligibility. It's still the freshmen that are returning. Now it holds up them in the long run for beach, because my sophomores now, my indoor sophomores have an extra year of beach because they're going to be technically freshmen next year, however they want to call it, COVID freshmen, I don't know. But so the freshmen that are coming in, I'm very excited for fall. And I'm excited for them to come in beach too, because Cabrillo is unique in the sense where we are able to have players that are beach only or beach specific. So we always had a couple new or different players in general for beach season. I think it's really hard for players that have played indoor who have never played beach or stepped on the sand, have no idea, to come in and really fill a huge role. But there's always that possibility that they're going to rock it. So I think I love being competitive. I love them grinding it out every single day, and that was what was really hard about finishing this spring season so early, is we were on that turn of really seeing some really big bright spots compared to the season before, and then it stopped. So we just have to keep grinding every single day and just building blocks. I think the ladder in the spring can change all the time depending who's performing and who's not. The best 5 teams are going to go out there. So I think it's just keeping it competitive, and it really doesn't change our fall season. So every freshman that will be coming in is still coming in. I think we lost both our setters. And so, that was a huge role for us, is to find a setter who's ready to come in, or not just a setter, but a few setters to come in, grind it out, and win that spot. So we're really excited about our freshmen that are coming in.
Awesome. I wanted to ask you a couple questions about you and your playing and coaching experience. You're originally from Madera, California. Mm-hmm. What brought you to the coast? I mean, it seems self-explanatory if people want to come to Santa Cruz, but as a volleyball player, the sport is much bigger in Southern California, it appears. It seems like there's a lot more, particularly in beach, a lot more programs available. What drew you to Central California and specifically to Cabrillo?
My family, actually, we've always gone up to Santa Cruz and vacationed there. And, my mom, Julie Montagna, she had a family home there at Seascape all the time. So we would go up there at least once a month for a really long time. So I knew the area. Blankenship, actually, the head Aptos football coach, he used to coach at Madera High and coached my brother. And he went up there and played for Cabrillo. And so it kind of got ties that way. And back then, coaches couldn't communicate with kids out of their area, or students out of their area. So when he went up there, I went and visited, of course, and I had heard really good things about Gabby and the Cabrillo program. So that's kind of how I fit in there. So it's just always been kind of home away from home, I would say. And now it's more home than Madera.
And you were on the state championship team in 2013, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, middle blocker at that moment. So middle blocker, 2013, yeah.
So when you came to Cabrillo, and after you got done playing, you went on to play for Providence, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And now that you're back as a coach, what does it mean to be the head coach for both a spring and fall program? Like, how does that create some unique challenges for you? And how does it create some unique opportunities when it comes to recruiting and player development?
I think having a consistent coach year-round is really important. Having that consistency of the same philosophy, the same culture, your building blocks, I think that's very important for student athletes, especially at the community college level. The issue is, or one of the most challenging, I think, is going out to recruit, right? Spring season, especially beach, it's shorter than fall season. It's not as intense, I would say. However, or time consuming. However, it is usually during the main time for recruiting for indoor or senior athletes. So it has its pros and its cons. I think everything does in general, but that's one of the main challenges in there. And then for me, I'm someone who really wants to be involved in everything, especially at the school in general. So it's just balancing what you can and can't do, when you can say no, knowing that you can, but also being highly involved. I think it's very important that our coaches are involved in what's going on in the school and the community in general. And I'm a coach for Main Beach as well, or assistant coach, because being a head coach would just be crazy. But I love being around the entire volleyball community. So I'm just taking those opportunities and really trying to excel at them.
You're in a heck of a great place to do that. Volleyball is pretty big in Santa Cruz. Let's talk a little bit about you, not only as a teacher, but as a student. How have you been improving yourself, and how have you made the most of this really unprecedented time that nobody has ever had before?
Yeah, I think I said it from the very beginning. I said to the girls is when you come out of this, and who knows how long it's going to be, you can still be where you exactly were 4 or 5 months ago, or you can be someone, not someone completely different, but you could really grow. From the teaching standpoint, I currently am a 200-hour yoga teacher training the last few weeks, and it's a 4-week program from Hot Source Yoga, actually down the street. It's pretty local, and they're amazing. So that's been a huge thing of my life right now, and I'm preparing for the fall and just taking some time to really expand my knowledge, not only as a volleyball coach, but also as a kinesiology instructor. I'm also finishing my last quarter for my second master's degree at Concordia Irvine while teaching full time. So it's been a little chaotic, but it's been great. And I think sometimes we get so caught up on the things we have to do, right? And we are just not just trying to get through the day, but trying to excel at everything we have to do. And right now we really have the time to kind of dive in. And I'm really excited, and I'm learning way more than I did having to bounce around. And we just really have to take the time to really grow ourselves right now and stay active and stay healthy, and really understand and listen to ourselves, because I don't think we'll ever have this time in our lives again. So really listen to ourselves and really get to know ourselves. And that's what I've been preaching to our Cabrillo volleyball class in general, and a lot of my kinesiology classes is, hey, it's okay to take this time. We understand we're all going through it together, so let's just take it day by day. And so that's what I think is really special about this time.
That's a very healthy attitude to have. Coach, you are an accomplished athlete, you're an accomplished coach, you're a teacher. Of all three of those things, of the daily interaction with your students, your players, and as an athlete yourself, which of those three do you miss the most? Are you the most excited to get back to after this? Because you still play competitive beach volleyball, right?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I definitely miss going outside and playing a lot. I think just, oh man, what do I miss? I think the day-to-day, laughing, communication of just being surrounded by people that you want to grow, that want to grow with you. And whether it's, I could say one or the other, but I really think it's all of the above, just because there's one thing in particular that stands out for all of them, whether I'm playing on the beach with my own group, or training myself, or with the girls training, or in the yoga studio teaching yoga, or in my introduction to kinesiology course. There's always a sense of joy and being surrounded by a group of people that really want to get better and really want to learn. So I really miss, sorry, my cat is completely meowing right now.
All right.
But I just really miss seeing those light bulb faces that are like, oh yeah, you're right, that totally makes sense. Or even on my face when I learned something new about them, and just, really bonding those relationships again. Because I think, and that was something that was so special to me at a community college, is I got to know admin and a lot of my instructors, and that's what really made my Cabrillo College experience really warming and welcoming. And that's why I was so excited to come back and have the opportunity to show what I could do my first year, and was fortunate enough to get provided the full-time position. So that I think is the biggest thing, and it kills me not to be there with them. We still have online classes, but it's not the same. Online classes has its pros and its cons as well as in person. But just, I think we're all realizing that it's really hard to communicate, and it's really hard to get to know one another one-on-one through a screen, unless you're sitting down and having one-on-one Zoom meetings with each person, which is really hard to do within a day, and have weekly checkups. But that's what I really miss, is seeing the expressions and the learning curves that we'd be missing. So
awesome, Coach. Well, thank you so much for your time. There's so much else we still want to talk to you about, so we're going to have you back on. But thank you again for your time, and we hope that you stay happy, healthy, and safe through this.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for having me. So.